Well, welcome to the internship training. My name is Denise Kestner, and I think I've met some of you before, certainly Jody. And for the most part, I am an HR consultant and small to mid-sized businesses, and then I teach for Ohio State and for Ohio Dominican and for Franklin. So right now, over the lunch hour on 3 days a week, you can find me traversing, trying to act like a co-ed and realizing that I actually get lapped walking down Woodruff. So a lot of what I do is spend time with individuals at that stage of their career when they are leaving the educational establishment and venturing out into their first professional foray. So I think that coupled with my work in the career services and my master's degree in vocational counseling kind of positions us well to have a good conversation about what it's like to take on an intern. How many of you have hired interns before? You have, okay. Good, bad experience? Great, okay, good, okay. And how long ago was it? Oh, fantastic. Okay, so very recently. And where did your interns come from?
The first year came from Bachelors.
Okay.
And last summer, Bachelors, but also, Ohio University.
Very cool. Okay, wonderful. Now, I know Jody stepped out to take a really quick phone call, but I know a lot about her business. Could you tell me a little bit about yours and how many people I'm particularly concerned with or want to know about how many people work for your organization at this point and who's going to have oversight of the interns? Anti-hugging training. Don't squeeze the help. Okay. 4 employees. Okay, so you have definitely hired. You have hired 2? Okay. Are you going to bring on the second?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so you're going to have 2 interns this summer. Awesome. Great. Okay. Well, thank you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now, Isabella, you're the CEO. Do you have any other employees?
Yes.
Okay. But remember, you're the CEO. Will you be the one overseeing the interns?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Where are you from? Mm-hmm. That's okay. No, it can't. Neither can you. We like you too much. So, thanks, Isabel.
I'm Dean Zoe, CEO of Illinois. We have a contract for you, but I get
But their contract? Okay.
And, I would like to have one little marketing website, business skill set, and then for a radar company. And so we get an engineering data analysis work.
Okay.
Just as a reference, we had an SBIR last summer that the Ohio State rep used radar to make
Oh. I was going to say, was it through the College of Agriculture? Okay. Okay. Very cool. Okay. So you're going to have, you've had interns before. So you may have some additional advice to supplement our conversation. In other words, what went well, what didn't go so well, what do you wish you had done last summer that you're going to do this summer, and vice versa. So one of the things that I do want to make sure that you're aware of is that an internship is really a two-way street. They're looking to get from you as much as you're looking to give to them. And so it's a mutually beneficial relationship, and it's usually not, they're not here because they're not with your organization because this is how they're going to pay for college. So they're not working with you because of the money. The money is nice. It's certainly better than an unpaid internship, and it creates less of a burden for the employer when it's a paid internship. But it very much is a mutually beneficial two-way street relationship. And some of the questions that you need to ask yourself, and we're going to talk about the very first one. Let me grab my clicker.
With your other hand.
They didn't think about this. They know I love coffee. The very first thing I want you to think about is what's your goal with bringing in an intern? Having somebody to grab coffee or answer the phone doesn't constitute an intern. So what is your goal? What's the, when you said you think about somebody with a marketing or a website design experience, you've got a very pointed goal with respect to, a very defined goal with respect to who you're going to try and acquire and the projects that they're going to have to work on, which is great because that's task. But what else? What else could be a potential goal of having an intern? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. 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 So what type of intern do you think you're going to be searching for this summer? Scientific background? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. You'll take what you can get. Fantastic. Okay. Have you thought about it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you've got very specific tasks and skill sets that you're going after. The other thing I want you to be aware of is that one of the goals should be that, and you kind of mentioned it, Isabella, is that not only do you hope to supplement and augment your skill set with your present team, but also that you're willing to teach someone else. And so do you all have children? Okay, so, want a teenager? Only if she has the right internship skill sets. So one of the things should be that you're thinking about investing in someone's, you have to be unselfish enough to want to invest in someone for their sake, not just for the sake of your entity and for what you need to get done, but you're thinking about it, again, back to that mutually beneficial two-way street where you're thinking, this is a way for me to invest in the future professionals that are in my community. And then secondarily, if they end up coming on board as a full-time hire, a permanent employee down the road, and then that's an even easier line of sight to see with respect to investment. But the goal shouldn't just be how can they help lift the burden within my organization. The goal should be a little bit loftier such that, what am I going to give back to? Because a lot of times this will be their first foray into a professional environment, into a professional career. They've, tossed pizzas, they've delivered pizzas, they've asked, would you like fries with that? But a lot of times this is their first adventure in the professional work world. And so, for them, you're going to be teaching them a lot more than just what it is that your business needs to know. You're going to teach them how to communicate. You're going to teach them how to draft emails. You're going to teach them how to dress appropriately. You're going to model behaviors and serve as an example for these individuals for the rest of their career. So it's a lot loftier than just having somebody help lift the burden. And you have to be in a position where you're ready to do that and you're willing to do that. If you're not, it's okay. It may not be the right time for an intern. But you have to be willing to do that. And so when we look at whether or not you happen to be ready for this type of, acceptance of the intern, one of the things that you want to do is think about, what am I going to have them do? Can I justify having an intern 3 days a week or 4 days a week or 5 days a week? Is it a 20-hour internship? Is it a 25? Is it a 40-hour internship? What are we looking at? So one of the first things you need to do is actually sit down and think about, even if it's a task list, what are the 10 things that I'm going to have them working on, maybe on a routine basis, or, am I committed to sitting down every Sunday night and thinking about what they're going to be working on this upcoming week? And so that, in a general sense, becomes the essential functions and responsibilities of the internship position description. So think about that, and if you can't get to that, if you can't think of enough things, you need to think about whether or not this is a full-time internship, a part-time internship. There's nothing wrong with having somebody in your office just 1 day a week. It might be all that you need. The other thing to think about is that if you've got more than enough, you have to think about whether or not, and they're still in school, because a lot of times we do have students who go year-round, is this something where you can split it between 2 part-time interns? And if you're willing to foster that, it creates a little bit more work, but it's kind of like going from 1 to 2 kids. You're kind of used to doing the work, it just now requires a little bit more attention between 2 individuals. So think about how much you intend to offload onto this intern, or how much you intend to teach and train this intern. And does your schedule really permit it? So the other thing is, do you really have the time to do this? Now, some of you run around like a chicken without a head. And if you can't see yourself slowing down enough to invest in someone else, it may not be the right time. But if you can, and you can see the long-term benefit, whether it's the investment of that individual or it's the contribution that they can make to the organization, and you're willing to slow down enough to take a step back, to take 6 forward, then it might be the right time. So the thing that you really need to honestly ask yourself is, do I have the time to onboard, teach, and train this individual? And much like a regular hire, they require all the same attention, but unlike a regular hire, to a kind of a more micro level, where you might expect an individual coming into a position to already know how to draft professional emails, to know that you proofread your email before you send it out, to know that we shouldn't have grammatical errors in our emails. This is something you might need to be, you're laughing. This is something you might need to be prepared for. And so the second part of that is, and I do want to, are you going to be patient? Are you going to be unselfish? Or do you have a temperament that's kind of go, 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 and if you don't get it the first time, I don't have the time to explain it to you a second time. You have to really look at your personality, and the nice part is that none of you are really operating independently, so you've got other people who can help with teaching and training this intern. If you are a solo owner of an organization, because you have a couple people that work with you as well. Now, will you be overseeing the interns?
Yes, because the other people don't actually, they're more board, so they don't day-to-day, it's just me.
Okay. So, do you have the right temperament to be patient, and not only that, to be unselfish enough such that you're approachable? If every time they come to you with a question, you appear apprehensive to want to stop what you're doing and explain, or answer their question or explain again what they might need to be doing, it may not be the right time, or you may not be the right person. So there's a little bit of introspection that needs to go on as to whether or not you are the right fit to oversee the interns, or whether it's the right time. But if you feel like, yes, absolutely, I know I can do this, I know that it's a two-way street, I'm willing to invest in them because we're going to get the benefit of their knowledge, their experience, their training, their education, then fantastic. So if you can say that you have the time, and are you willing to, unlike, again, someone who's going to come in with some professional experience, are you willing to train them to that micro level? So interestingly enough, I was working with some interns recently, and when I said we need to get this mailing out, I did not realize that today's youth, now my kids do because I make them write thank you notes. I did not realize that today's youth do not know how to address an envelope or where the stamp goes on the envelope. So I had to be willing. I did breathe in and out 2 times before I gave a response, but I had to be willing to step back and go, wow, this is my opportunity. I know not a lot of stuff goes snail mail these days, but this is my opportunity to help them. And one of them was an international student, so perhaps that played into it. Maybe, coming from a South African nation, maybe this was my opportunity to teach and train them on a skill that I thought maybe they could have or should have or would have learned before now, but I was willing to go to that micro level to say, okay, the return address, I did have to explain what a return address was. And here's here's who we're sending it to, and here's where the stamp goes. I was not prepared for, how do you seal the envelope? And I said, you're going to have to lick the envelope. Like with my tongue? Yes, with your tongue. And you're going to have to do that for all 55 of them. Now, if you don't want to do that, we can talk about, let's go into the office supply closet. But I was willing to go to that micro level to help them. They'll never ask that question again, right? And dear God, I hope not, because they're graduate students. But you have to be willing to slow down. I didn't belittle them. I didn't think, oh my gosh, where were your parents? I didn't think anything of that. I just thought, this is my opportunity to take a step back to teach them something. Silly, small, and minute, I know. But you have to be willing to do that. And they are going to come back to you with a lot of questions and a lot of emails, and you have to have the right personality to be approachable with this, such that they feel comfortable asking you the silly, small, and minute questions. Ever since teaching them how to address an envelope, anytime they have what they think is a silly question, they don't go to the deans in the department that I work for. They come to me and ask me first. I don't think they've ever asked any questions, so I don't think it's fair to say that they wouldn't be approachable, but they already know that it's safe to ask me that type of question. And that's what you need to do, is create a safe environment for them to learn in. Even some of their university professors don't do that for them. So please, if you're willing to do this and take on an intern, be approachable and be patient with them. They are going to come back at you and want to know, am I on the right track? Is this what you need? We all may be used to individuals taking a project from A to Z, and we'll review it when it's done. They may need check-ins at A and D and E and F and H and M, and then we'll see you at Z. But for the most part, are you willing to answer all those questions? Are you willing to kind of draw them a map of where they need to go throughout the work week? And sometimes, I've had interns who actually wrote on their to-do list, take shower. If I need to have a micro task list from an intern and I read it and it says take shower, I know I'm going to have to provide the sucker with a lot of detail on what needs to happen in the week. If they have to write down that they need to take a shower, I'm going to need a lot of direction with this individual. So think about, whether or not you're in a position to be able to do that. And are you taking the time to want to create and craft a really rich experience for this person? You might initially be thinking, ooh, this is going to be great. I'm going to get help with the website. This has been on my to-do list for, 9 months. If you're anything like me, mine was on my to-do list for 4 years initially. But wow, I'm going to get all this help, and I'm going to get this intern, and I'm going to get some of these things done that have been. But really, if you can, take yourself out of that recipient role and say, what am I going to do for them? Because it will come back to you in spades, and it'll be long term. So are you, in fact, ready for an intern? So one of the things that I don't know if you all had an opportunity to review this, but this is kind of a good template to look at and to start to craft your internship position description. There you go. Would you pass one to Jody? That'd be great. And one of the things that, as you are looking at potential interns for your organizations, the more information that you can put on paper, the more they can decide whether or not this is going to be the internship for them. We're still in a tight labor market, so most of these individuals, most of my classes, they have already secured their internships and had by January 7th. So there were not a whole lot of OSU students in my courses, and my courses are a couple hundred students. There may be 3 or 4 that haven't secured an internship, but most secured an internship early, and they want to know, what am I going to be doing? What am I going to be exposed to? And I will say that the more that you can put in terms of detail and the form in which your writing takes to be appealing to the reader, the more likely you are to at least attract individuals to want to consider your business as their internship home. If you are not, I am not myself a creative writer. I'm a good technical writer, but I have to outsource it to a creative writer. If you decide that, gosh, I'm in the same boat, I'm a great technical writer, I can get the details down there, but I don't know if I can craft it such that it would be interesting. How does a 48-year-old craft it so that a 22-year-old goes, ooh, I want to work there? If you can't do that, look for resources, and you can always contact me. Look for resources where you can help someone do that. So when I write a position description, if I'm writing it for a creative entity or I know I need to appeal to a particular demographic, I will turn around and pay $25, $30 to a creative writer to put it into the right words that I think will be appealing to that crowd. Rev1 may have some resources for you on that as well. But think about not only from a content perspective, but from an appeal perspective. Now more than ever before, your interns are going to make a decision as to whether or not they even wish to talk to you based upon what you've published. So think about that. One of the things that I typically look for is a great summary about the organization. So often it might be your elevator pitch. Can you put that at the top of your internship position description? And the sexier you can make it sound, or the more exciting or challenging, all the better. You want people clamoring to do their internship at your place of business. So if you can, just underneath your logo, you can go ahead and insert maybe a short 2, 3, 4 sentences about your organization. It might be your elevator pitch. And then from there, put your link to your LinkedIn profile and to your organization's website, if you've got one. If you're still, working on that, just give as much information as you can about the organization. You also want to include, because again, we have the attention span of goldfish these days, so you want to include a very brief summary, and you want to make that summary, just like your elevator pitch, as sexy as possible, so that they're, again, ooh, I want to read on. I want to look at the essential functions and responsibilities and the requirements for this position. So make that intro summary really captivating. I will tell you that companies that are much, much larger than you all don't take the time to do this. They rely on their name to draw in individuals. You're going to rely on your uniqueness to draw individuals to work and want to intern with you. Make sure that you give them the details, like, hey, it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Make sure that you give them a location. Some of your interns may walk from campus down Kinnear to work for you. Some may need to figure out a bus schedule. Not all of our interns are from the Central Ohio area. Not all of the interns have the luxuries of transportation. And what does if your expectations and you figured out your essential functions and requirements, can they be done remotely? Can you hold someone responsible but let them work at the library? What does that look like in your mind? Or do you feel like, gosh, you're not going to get as much of a learning experience if you're working at the library. I need for you to be in my office because that's where you're going to get the most exposure and the better return on your time and investment. So think about that. The more detail you can put in here, again, the better. They need to know. I'm expected to be in the office 3 days a week. I can work remotely 2 days a week. But it's a 40-hour internship. It runs from May 1st to August 15th. Whatever details you want to put in there, you are permitted to take a week of vacation in there or what have you. Be very, very clear because it's going to depend. You don't want to bring on an intern only to discover that they had entirely different intentions and expectations. This is your chance to set it from the start. In your essential functions and responsibilities section, so you've got the blurb about the company, then you've got a summary about the role that makes me want to read more. And then you have a bit of demographic information about the role itself. And then you're going to go into talking about what are the essential functions and responsibilities for this internship. What are you going to get exposed to? What are you going to learn? What are you going to have autonomy for? And what am I going to micromanage you on? You're not going to use those terms, but you're going to make them feel comfortable in that they're going to be exposed to certain elements and tasks and responsibilities, and then you are going to learn, because an internship is about learning. If it weren't, you'd be asking, would you like fries with that, hot or mild sauce? You would not be working in a professional capacity. So you are going to continue, they're going to want to continue to learn, so tell me what I'm going to learn in this internship. And then, of course, qualifications. So what does it take? If your office is remote, you're not here, or you're too far from campus, do they have reliable transportation? Is there a way for them to get there? If you are really stringent on, you got to be in the office by 9 and not leaving till 5, make sure that they have a schedule that allows for that. If they need flexibility, then, make sure it's in there. If you're willing to work around the school schedule, fantastic. If you need them to have completed certain coursework, that's great if you can put that in there. If they need to have completed anatomy, physiology, biology at a certain level, make sure it's in there. If you only want to look at graduate students, then indicate that a bachelor's degree with a graduate degree, in process would be preferred. So the requirements of that position. Now, don't put in there great communication skills. They're 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24 years old. They don't have great communication skills. In fact, I can't get a group of 188 of them to speak up in class. So don't put in there, because that's going to be one of the things that you coach and train them on. So I did want to give you a few moments to just think about, from a summary perspective, the intern. Now, you've already hired one, but the other one that you're looking to bring on, and maybe your web designer, or what type of intern are you thinking? What are you going to hope that they learn or do? Customer facing. Okay. So what I want you to do is think about either the primary essential functions of the role, so I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes, or if you'd like to put in there, if you're a better paragraph writer than you are a bullet pointer, go ahead and put in, start to draft maybe a paragraph. And if you're a better typer, go to town. If you're a better writer, pen and paper, do that. But start to think about how can you communicate what this role is going to entail. We're going to talk about sourcing the interns in just a moment. But for the most part, the other thing you want to consider when you're constructing this is that when you're posting these internship vacancies online, they are going to, just like anybody else, they're going to be searchable by keywords. And so if it's absolutely critical that website design is a component of this internship, website design is going to be, or marketing collateral, or create marketing collateral. So make sure that your key search terms, the things that from your position description, make sure that they're in your internship description before you post it online. Sometimes we tend to look at our essential functions and responsibilities as not going, we tend to keep them general when we look at professional positions, but when we look at interns, you might need to, again, you go to a more micro level with respect to key search terms, because these interns are looking to get very specific experience. So just keep that in mind to put that in there. The other thing to be concerned with, and gosh, can I pick on you for a sec? Your description of what the company does for a technical-minded, my favorite shade of my favorite color in the world is beige, mind, is cool. I don't necessarily know that that's going to appeal to a 22, 23, 24-year-old. So you would be one of those perfect individuals to say, hey, we have a really cool business. Now could you make it sound even sexier on paper? So that might be one of the ways that you, because you're having to appeal to a whole different generation, you might look to someone who's in a creative writing space to be able to, because again, to somebody who's, a shade of beige, that's really cool. But again, you have to think about who is it going to appeal to. And for those of you that are crafting, are a little bit further behind in crafting, it's the other thing to remember is that sometimes the things that you think of and if you're constantly asking yourself this question as you're constructing the position description is, what else can they learn? What else can they learn? What else can they do? Now, are you always sitting down when you think of these things? Is your computer right in front of you? Is the job description pulled up so that it's convenient, so that you could just jot it down? No. If you're like me, I don't know what it is about a hairdryer, but you get my hairdryer going on my head, and all of a sudden I'm coming up with great ideas. I don't know if I need to warm up my brain or what. So do you know I always bring my phone into my bathroom with me? Because if I think of something, I turn off the hairdryer, I send myself a quick note. If you tend to be a good thinker when you're driving, I have people that drive 45 minutes each way into work. That's some of their prime thinking time. Send yourself, text yourself a message, send yourself a note. Think about, how do you capture some of those great ideas? But keep replaying in your mind, what can they learn? What can they learn? What can I teach them? And if you do that well enough in advance, you can capture that in the position description, if not, at least expose them to it in the internship. So at this point, you've got the basic format to capture the information. So you need to put it into a format similar to this, and then be able to write it to the level that's appealing, both the level and from the desire to appeal to the group that you are pursuing as a demographic. So maybe it doesn't need to be really creative and sexy if you're appealing to a bunch of statisticians and microbiologists. I don't know, but I can't imagine that somebody who's in a creative space, they would really love to see a well-crafted, interesting position description. So once you do get an opportunity to put that together, and it is necessary, and you only get how many chances to make a good first impression? Oh, 2 in your book, huh? So put your best foot forward. It doesn't matter that you're a team of 3, or what do you guys have, 4? Or a team of 4, or a husband and wife. It doesn't matter that you're that small. You can still put forth a fantastic impression. This is, again, their first foray, many of them, into a professional work world. Show them how it's done. Just because they're a big, players in the market doesn't mean that they're always doing things right. So show them how it's done. If you can build a position description, an intern description that is appealing to the demographic you're going after, and again, maybe it's a scientific and there's certain words in there that are just going to be like, for them, then fantastic. But once you do that and you begin to post it, so you'll cast a wide net, but you'll also, you'll be out there making connections and forging relationships. And it's kind of like if you're looking to hire a specific niche of individuals, you've got to go figure out where they hide. And for most of your demographic, they're going to be communicating frequently and often on social media platforms, for example. The other thing might be, and I don't know if you guys know this, but with all of our colleges and universities in the area, now are you pulling from outside the area for students, or are you going to pull right from Central Ohio?
I'm thinking actually from Ohio.
Okay.
The laboratory itself is at the Ohio State University, right?
Perfect.
So,
Okay. Most of our smaller universities or colleges will have a centralized career services, and career services in most of the smallers will actually house someone who, and it may be just the one career services officer. They will also be responsible for internships, both sourcing and placement. At Ohio State, though, and the larger universities, it's distributed by college. Did you guys know that? So not only do we have a career services office at Ohio State, the College of Engineering has their own career services professional. So sometimes just tackling, or contacting career services at Ohio State is not going to get you to that niche person. So you should be looking at, and there's nothing wrong with reaching out to individual professors either. All of that information is on the website. And quite honestly, as a professor myself, anytime someone contacts me with an internship or a position, I notify my entire class. I post it on the LMS system. I'm not playing recruiter, but I'm certainly conveying. No problem being the messenger, but contact the individual career services and internship coordinator in the individual college for which you have interest, and then think about contacting individual professors as well. We're in the Midwest. People are really nice. They'll usually do anything that you ask them to. And if you make it easy for them, just say, hey, I've created a position posting. I would love it if you would share this. And, don't hesitate to contact every professor. You might have 3 out of 5 of them that'll do it for you, but 3 out of 5 will reach probably 600 to 700 students. And that's a lot more than you would in any other fashion. So you're not going to be given rights to their LMS system, but they will do it for you if you say, would you mind posting this in your classes, on Carmen? And the same thing with respect to the smaller colleges and universities. You are often able to also access alumni networks, so don't discount the fact that they're alumni and they're not current students. They may have just recently graduated, and they just haven't found a position that they feel comfortable with, and they're willing to take another internship. Or maybe they didn't have an internship that was so successful before, and they're not ready yet to take on their first professional, full-time, permanent role, but they need some additional exposure or experience. So don't discount recent alumni either.
I thought you were going to move the slide. I had a question on this slide.
Yeah, go for it.
I use Pinterest for the rest of the time. I find people on Pinterest.
I'm so impressed with you. You're not finding the people. What you're do is create a Pinterest account for your organization.
Okay.
And then, you know how when you click on a recipe, it's not like the recipe's right there. You got to go all the way through and keep clicking until you get, that's what you want them to do, is you link it to, let's say, the careers page for your organization. So you create a company's Pinterest account, and then you talk about maybe the cool things that you're doing, or you know, what it's like to work there. What is it that would be appealing to an intern that they would want to click through to find out more about your organization? So yeah, it's not just about travel and, you know, event planning and recipes, although that is where you probably utilize it most. But yeah, you can use it there. And if you've got, there's 3 of you, and there's 4 of you, and there's 2 of you, so you can, you know, share the information. You can also, when you're looking at like LinkedIn or Instagram, you might have Instagram as well. You know, just keep sharing the information. All you're doing is hoping to circulate it.
Do you want suggestions for another spot?
Yeah.
Joint handshake?
Yeah, oh yeah, I was getting there. That was my next
okay.
statement.
Never mind.
No, you preempted. No, that's good. You've been there, done that. So you've obviously heard of Handshake.
Mhm.
Have the 3 of you heard of Handshake? That is where all of our interns, I mean, that's like the Indeed for employment. Everybody goes to Handshake.
If I can share your hand up.
Yeah.
We do permanent event stuff, and it's recommended that I make my website HTTPS versus HTTP. I don't have that skill set. I went to join Handshake, did some in AWS, whoever references there in their resume, their posting. And this guy and I talked on the phone for like a couple hours, got it done, and I sent some money through, not PayPal, but some other, you know, Zelle, and it worked great. I mean, it's a good way to just go through and sort for what you're looking for.
Yeah, that was another one.
Yeah.
Or I actually needed like on the last minute, I needed some estimations. And literally overnight, I had them.
I mean, you need a logo, you need a marketing plan. I mean, it's amazing what you can get, you know, help with. But in terms of finding actual interns, and they're all, as university students, I will tell you, they're all on Handshake. They completely understand that that's a platform that is free for the employer, it's free for the employee, and they can access just like Indeed is for permanent positions. Now, there again, if you're really looking for somebody niche, and maybe there's a lot of competition for those, and by the time you've contacted an intern, they've been contacted 13 times, you may decide, I'm going to post it on Handshake, I'm going to look on Handshake, but then I'm also going to contact the university professors, I'm going to use my Instagram account, and all you're looking to do, I mean, you can actually, you know that you have neighbors, you know that you have friends, you could put it on Facebook, yeah.
Also, we have it on board,
Oh, cool.
another way to get down there.
So the Rev1 job board,
Yeah, all of your roles will be on a
a special
special intern job board.
intern job board.
Program page that we're serving to students where they can go directly.
Once you say it earlier. See? And so, yeah, our marketing team is putting a lot of thought towards how they can get to students beyond these channels.
That's awesome. That's great. And just like if you were looking to hire a permanent position, the wider you cast your net, the more options or selection choices you're going to have, and the different avenues that they're going to come from. So, you know, again, you can post it on your Facebook. There's nothing wrong with that. How many of you have a Facebook account? Or for yourself. Yeah. Put it on Facebook, and then, you know, ask everybody that you know, hey, please share this, because you don't know that your best friend who lives in Westerville doesn't have a next door neighbor who's got a son who's looking for an engineering. You just don't know. And it's all about the connections. And the more, it's volume. The more you can reach out, again, the better selection you're going to have. So you got to kind of figure out, where are these suckers hiding? So I was, not only do we use Handshake, not only do we use the Carmen dashboards to post position vacancies and internships, there are coffee shops all over the OSU campus. And every coffee shop, just when you think people don't read physical billboards anymore, or bulletin boards, go to the coffee shops at OSU. And by the way, you can usually get in the entryways, the dorms. I saw the other day an internship. I was crisscrossing the campus, and somebody had taken packing tape and taped down in the middle of the walkway with packing tape had taped down a flyer about, hey, are you looking for this type of internship? You couldn't help but see that, you know? And I saw people stopping and taking a picture with their phone. Oh, yeah. Does she become your customer service rep after that? So get creative. I mean, if you worship someplace, bring flyers, ask anybody and everybody to put it up. If you've got friends that work at Honda, ask them to throw it up. If you've got friends that work at big organizations and they have some sort of, even the school systems have like intranets, and how cool is it to see internship opportunities for individuals in college being posted back on the Dublin School or the Hilliard School's intranet. Just get creative. So let's flip. Once you have figured out where you are going to source these individuals from, and those were just a few ideas. And if you need contacts at certain schools or you need ideas, please reach out, let me know. And we can certainly, source those individuals for you or help get the posting over to the right individual. Then you need to think about, what's my interview going to look like? And keep in mind, these are individuals who may or may not have professionally interviewed anywhere. So one of the things I wanted to provide to you was just sort of a basic template that would get, and this might just be maybe your initial phone call for them, but I've got a couple of materials for you to think about what the interview is going to look like, because unlike a regular position, this internship it may be short-term, and your individuals that you're interviewing may looking to get out of you certainly far more than a paycheck. But I created a template for you just in the initial interview, and it's kind of created in 3 different buckets to start the dialogue, to make sure that, in fact, the individuals are what you're offering, whether it's the culture, it's the environment, it's the tasks, responsibilities. Is there alignment between what it is that you're going to offer and what they're looking for? So there's a couple of general but good questions that the Career Services Office at several universities, I took sort of a summary of all of them and chose the best ones, asked them what their favorites were, what do they think was most successful, and I've put them there. In addition to that, I also there's a couple of documents and just really good, I normally don't do this, but really good articles on additional questions that you may want to ask your interns in the interview process. And again, you're looking for this to be a mutually beneficial two-way street. Thank you. And then there's one more. I think there's one more. Yeah. And whether you decide to use these questions verbatim or they spark something in you, either way. And this may be the follow-up to the initial phone screen. Whatever you do, though, and whether it's an intern or it happens to be a permanent hire, the one thing I will say is just make sure you're consistent. Because if I were to ask you what you had for breakfast 3 Thursdays ago, right, you can't do it. So if you're, okay, you don't eat breakfast, bad example. What did you have for dinner 3 Thursdays ago? He's like, I keep a food journal. What do you want to know? It's too hard to recollect. So when you are interviewing these folks, just make sure that you're consistent so that, in fact, you don't get trapped by some of the natural psychological tendencies like the latency or the recency effect or the halo effect. You don't, just because they were the last one doesn't mean they're the best one. You interviewed 12 interns. You've got to keep some good notes. And so just make sure your practice is consistent so that you don't have to rely on. And you can take some quirky notes, too. They're all probably going to be under the age of 40. So if they volunteered that they were 24 and they're hoping to, relocate to California, after graduation, that might not be a permanent hire. And if you're really hoping that this intern turns into a permanent hire, you may decide, that's probably not the way I'm going to go, because I'm really hoping that if I'm going to invest over the next 3 to 4 months, that this person, I can offer them a job at the end of that time. So maybe you're looking for that person who maybe has got a full year or 2 left of school, but after that they intend to stay in the Central Ohio area. So ask the right questions to make sure that it ends up being a mutually beneficial relationship. And things like, what are you looking for is too general. What type of environment do you tend to flourish in? Are you an early bird or are you a night owl? And if you've got flexibility and you're okay with them working from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., yippee skippy. You don't care when the website gets designed, do you? No. It's okay, but you've got to ask that up front, because if you're the type of mindset that, hey, I want you in here by 9, not 9:10, not 9:15, not 9:11, be in here by 9, you may not be able to be flexible enough to meet that night owl's work style. So it's okay to ask those questions as long as they're relevant to the position and to what you need to accomplish. So finding the right fit will come as a result of putting together the right questions that you need to ask. So don't think about who it is so much as what needs to happen in this mutually beneficial relationship. And like I said, be consistent. And for you all, make a good impression. There's one more thing I want to give you, which is for those of you that haven't managed interns before, this is sort of a, hey, if you haven't done it before, here's a good first-time guide. And there's some stuff in here that's really basic. But if you want to make a good impression and you have expectations of this intern going forward, and your expectation is, I want you here by 8:30 every morning, can you stroll in at 9:15? No. Now, having said that, if you are going to stroll in at 9:15 because you have a meeting with a prospective client, then you're going to have to text them and say, hey, I'm going to be at Crimson Cup in a meeting until 9:15. I'll see you shortly after. So they don't think, oh, well, if he shows up at 9:15, why do I have to get here at 8:30? Keep in mind, think about it, I know this is hard, but think about it, not because you're not highly intellectual, but because you don't have kids yet. I'm getting there. I promise you, I wouldn't insult. Oh, that might be a limiting factor, but. Or maybe you want the intern to work on your time. That's okay. If you don't come in until 10:30, then the internship probably doesn't end at 4:30, 5 o'clock, right? It's okay. And if you're more focused on the end product and you don't care when the work gets done, then make sure that you convey that in the interview process. Like, hey, I'm completely flexible. You've got a school schedule. I want you to have a little bit of fun. You're still young. But here's the deal. If I say a project has to get done by the 15th, it has to get done by the 15th. I don't care if you stand on your head at 2 a.m., every night. I don't care, but we focus on end product. But if you are investing in someone and you're going to see them on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour basis, and you're going to be pouring into them professionally that way, that's not what you're going to convey. So I think this is a great article just to have you start thinking about, and where I was going with that initial comment was, think about if your son came to work, do you have a son? Okay, if your son came to work for me, and we're really close colleagues or good friends, I would want to invest in him. What am I going to do for him? Maybe you missed the boat on something, or maybe you didn't think about something because maybe you're a finance professional and I'm an HR. So what can I do for him? So think about when you bring these interns in, they are someone's child. And I don't know, maybe that's just my approach. It seems to be working very well. I've now got, a 20-year track record with this, and now it's funny to see these interns elevating into positions of like CFOs and CEOs. It's crazy to think I'm that old, but I think about it that way. I think about like, how can I take care of and teach this child, because I'm going to send my daughter to you. Good luck with that sucker. But that's the way I look at it. I think you can still look at it even without children in that framework. Like, do you have nieces and nephews? Okay. Good friends with children? Okay. If your best friend Eric sends his kid to work for you as an intern, you would pour into them. And so that's what I'm trying to get at here, is that, from that standpoint, model the behaviors that you expect. And the best type of manager for an intern is one where maybe they come to work for you post-internship and they do it for a couple of years, but then either because you're too small or they want to move across the country or they want to do something different, that you have set them up for success like nobody else. And that type of gift that you can give to someone will come back to you in spades. I mean, whether it's karma or what have you. But think about the fact that you are launching these little birdies out of the nest at some point. And the reason that they flew was because of you. So, if you can think about it that way, but this article does a good job of just getting down to the basics of, if you want them in the office, then you show up in the office. If you want them to communicate with you on a regular basis, then you communicate with them on a regular basis. If you want to be communicated with via email, then you communicate with them via email. So, let's see. In terms of, and we've got a whole session I think that will come after this, but in terms of orienting and onboarding, if these individuals, this is their first foray into a professional work environment, you really do, not only do you need to tell them where the bathroom is, you need to walk them down there and show them. You need to help them on a micro level feel comfortable in your work environment. If they don't feel comfortable, they won't produce to their optimum level. And I can tell you that from years of experience working with college students, if they don't feel comfortable in the work environment, they're going to give you the absolute minimum. And that's because they're fearful, their confidence is really low. If you can make them feel like they're just as valued as those contractors that you're paying $100 an hour for, or just as valued as all those other PhD scientists, if you can make them feel that comfortable, then you're going to get more than you bargained for, and certainly more than you're paying. So, but the thing here is that you need to step back, and even if you've got some sort of orientation schedule that you typically do with your employees, you need to step back and look at it at a deeper level, a more micro level. They need to know, well, where do I park? Well, where do I, what time should I take lunch? Where should I eat my lunch? I mean, I know it's silly, but these folks, you're setting them, you're setting an expectation while they're with you, but you're also setting some lifelong habits. So plan. You can't be too detailed for these folks. And where you're not maybe used to having verbal conversations with prospective or new hires, think about putting it in writing for these folks, just because they can reference it. And think about if you're a 22-year-old and you've got the opportunity to work for a cool company like yours, I'm going to be nervous as all get out. If you write it down for me and I happen to miss something that you said because I was so nervous, I can go back and reference it. Somebody who's walking in at 28, 38 years old, they're not as nervous. They understand that, the sun's going to rise the next morning. These, they're just, I can't tell you how many students have said, I was so nervous I didn't even hear what they told me to do. And that's one of the pieces of advice is write things down for them. Whether it's an email that you recap or you provide them with a task list. For my interns, I typically send them a list on either Friday or Sunday night of what the upcoming week is going to look like. When things are due, my expectation for certain things, and I just take the time to do that. It cuts down on a lot of questions that would have otherwise interrupted my day, and it was easier for me to take a moment to plan. Take 30 minutes to plan than to probably get interrupted 30 times. So think about that step back as 6 forward. When you are bringing somebody on board, if you normally orient someone, like a new employee, in X amount of time, I would double that because you're going to have a lot of questions. You may, in fact, have instances where you're staring at your intern, they're staring right back at you, they're not comprehending, and you're going to have to go over this again. So be patient, be kind with them, and understand that you're going to have to carve out time in your schedule. Take a step back to go 6 forward. And please, please, please adjust your expectations. They may or may not have had, even if they have had an internship before you, or even if they did, draw a paycheck from somewhere, it doesn't mean that they've acquired the skills that you have an expectation with them. So keep in mind that if you want emails written a certain way, so in my office, we always start out an email with, hi Ken, hi Jody, hi Isabella. So if that's your expectation, please make sure you say that. And you might even need to put that on your expectation list, on your task list. But keep in mind, you just don't know what they've been exposed to, and so don't assume. And then keep in mind that your whole process, Your whole time together is education and training. It is not, let's get this stuff done. So a couple of really quick tips for a successful internship. And I just pulled this over years of experience, and then a couple of great articles that I had read over the past several weeks, just kind of pulled everything together. One of the things that I find, and I have a class that's got 188 students, and if I ask a question, even if it's the easiest question, nobody answers. They don't talk. Now, if I use technology and throw it up on the board as a polling question, or even a multiple choice, or even a discussion, every single one of them communicates. Now, why they can't talk with their mouth, I don't know. I have not figured out this interesting phenomenon. I'm just trying to raise my 2 teenagers to be, more vocal. Figure out what their preferred communication channel is. You do that with your customers, right? You do that with your other employees. You've got employees that would prefer to be notified via text, others that like email, some like a phone call. Set it from the get-go. How do you like to receive information? I know it sounds silly, but if you email somebody and you're wondering why haven't they responded, but every time you text them, they respond right back, well, there's your answer. Make sure that you stay in frequent contact, even if you're running around the city and you're in different offices and you're in different environments. There's nothing wrong with just checking in with a text, like saying, hey, are you doing okay? Are you staying busy? Do you have any questions? Do you need help? I do that all week long. Sometimes I'll call them in the car on my way somewhere. Sometimes I'll text them if I'm in a meeting. Hey, everything going okay? Do you have any questions? Is the project, are you stumped on anything with the project? What's going on? But stay in contact and then carve out a little bit of time for them every week. I don't know if it's 15 minutes or it's 30 minutes, but give them some one-on-one attention. And like I said before, make them feel truly welcome. And they're going to come in just like any other new hire and be overwhelmed. Everybody's going to know that the new hire's name is John, but John's not going to remember everybody else's name. I mean, at this stage of life, I'd be lucky to remember all 4 names. So maybe what you do is you put together a little bio sheet for them. Like, hey, here's a photograph of John. Here's his intern. And then you put all the 4 employees and you put a little bit of blurb about them if it's not on your website and he couldn't have read it somewhere else. And that's ready for him on the first day. So, hey, I'm going to introduce you to all these 4 people. I don't expect you to remember their names, but I put together a little bit of information about everybody, and so that way we'll get to know each other. And make the introductions. And make them feel like they're a colleague. Don't make them feel like a kindergartner. They are, this is your chance. Create task lists. Some respond better to verbal than written instructions. I have one intern, God love her. If I don't write it down, I get complete opposite of what I asked for. If I tell her A, she puts B. But if I write A, I get A. Figure out which way they want their instructions. But be patient and be kind. Again, really, that's where the stamp goes on an envelope. And yes, that's how you seal one, is you lick it. This is your opportunity. A couple more. When you're giving feedback, be supportive. These might be individuals who are coming from the everybody gets a trophy nation. If you're clear, you're not emotional, but you're clear, that is kind. Because as hard as some of the feedback might be to receive, I recently was, as hard as the feedback might be to receive, you're going to be doing them justice to give them the feedback. So in putting together some documents recently, I noticed that one of my interns did not proofread. So we sat down together, and again, this was time I didn't have, but I took on this intern, and I want to make her as best as she can be. So we went through this one-page document, and I said, okay, I've highlighted a couple things, and I want you to tell me why I highlighted them. And it was like I was teaching this individual, and she said, well, that sentence doesn't make sense. I said, okay, let's rewrite the sentence. We rewrote the sentence. Okay, what's wrong with that word? Well, I used T-H-E-R-E and not T-H-E-I-R. Okay. Your document, if it were to go out, would not have won us that business. So we need to slow down. I need you to proofread. And if you find that you've read it, it looks good to you, I want you to still find one other person to put eyeballs on it. Because that's going to help you, not only with me, but it's going to help you throughout your life. It's a two-way street. Be willing to teach and train, going up and back up, setting goals. They're going to come into this. They already know what they want. It's not the paycheck. They know what they want. So ask them, what are your goals? That's one of the questions on the template. What are your goals out of this internship? What do you hope to leave at the end of this internship with knowing? What do you want to be able to put on your resume? By the way, speaking of resumes, I always think it's great at the end of an internship if you can take that internship job description back out and go over it with them and say, look, you were exceptional in these areas. I think you should put this up in the competencies section of your resume. Or, here's the description that you might want to use for your resume in case you didn't hang on to the internship position description, which they didn't. I want you to use this on your resume because you did a great job and you were exposed to all of these tasks and responsibilities. This summary would be great for you. And here's where I think you had some key successes this past summer. Be inspiring, be encouraging, and infuse hope. These suckers might be coming out of their degree program, or they might be looking at, oh my gosh, I am going to be $40, $50, $60, $100,000 in debt as a result of this. What do I have to look forward to? And you know what? There's a lot to look forward to. If there wasn't anything to look forward to, you wouldn't be doing this. So as hopeful as you are in building and delving into the next generation of professionals, make sure you're communicating that. And if you're really passionate about your product, let them see that. Tell them about how it came about. And tell them, how exciting it is to, people often say to me, like, you are like the most passionate HR person ever. I'm like, oh, it's because I like it. And that's what they get hope from that. I can infuse hope in the next generation of HR practitioners. So think about that. When you think about the work, make sure it's challenging work. They are not there to fill the coffee machine and the other thing I want to say that this has been really helpful in work environments is if you do have a coffee machine, let them catch you making the coffee. Because at some point, and you don't know where they came from, you don't know what their background is like, when you work for a small organization, there is not a facilities manager, is there? There might not be an office manager who's going to make coffee for you every morning. And that's okay. If you're out of toilet paper in the bathroom, be willing to change it. The funniest thing was me walking down the office with 29 employees, and somebody said, where are you going? You have a meeting. I said, I know, but we don't have any paper towels. So I walked down to the supply closet, paper towels, back to the bathroom. Let them catch you doing things that everybody in the office needs to do. But their goal is not to make the coffee. Their goal is to work on some really challenging things. I've only had one time where someone came back to me and said, you gave me a project and I haven't learned this yet, so I don't think I know how to do this. I don't even know how to get started. And you know what that told me? Not that she didn't know it. It told me that I didn't do enough exploration to find out whether or not this was an appropriate project to give her. So I said, well, how about this? I understand you haven't taken that class yet. Do you want to work in tandem with me on this? Because I'm going to need to do it. The client expects it. Do you want to work in tandem with me on that? Yeah. And then when she started taking the class, she's like, oh, this makes so much more sense when I get to do it in real life. But give them something that's going to challenge them. There's mundane tasks to every one of our jobs. Yes, you're all going to change the toilet paper, you're all going to make the coffee. But that's not why they're here. And really, it is, in the long run, it'll be worth it. I've had people come back to me years later out of doing, I always take one intern at any given time. Sometimes I'll have two. But years later, I've had them come back and say, are you doing any hiring? Because that's been so far my favorite part of my professional career was my internship, which warms my heart. I wish I had more openings or vacancies. But it comes back to me, and then if I say no, I say, but I know you were trained well, so I know that there are other vacancies. Let me help you find a position where I think you're going to continue to learn and thrive. It will come back to you, and it will be worth it. And so, having said that, it is an investment. If you need help with anything, I would love to be able to help you, whether it's sourcing the interns or if you say to me, hey, I need to hire someone from, the entomology department at OSU. Can you find out who the contact is in the career services office there? Well, yippee skippy. I just so happen to have that inside password to the company's network. Let me know. I'm happy to help in any way, shape, or form I can. If you need some help formulating your interview questions, or if you need, a secondary set of eyes in an interview, let me know. And work with each other too. If you find that if you take a look at who you've been sitting around today and you come across an internship that would be great for someone else, pass it along. So, any questions? Yeah.
Can we get a copy of these slides?
Would you like them?
Well, yeah, because I have contact.
Oh, okay, yes. That I can also give you a card.
All right.
But yes, I can do that. In fact, do you guys have cards? Jody, I know I have yours. Yeah, so I'll just email it to you directly, but I'll give you a card as well. Any questions, any ideas, thoughts? You ready? Okay. You're already ready if you got one. You just got to get a second. Yeah, that's great. And then share with each other once you get your position description drafted, your internship position drafted. Share it with each other, because who's to say, Isabella, how old are your kids? Okay, they're not ready for an internship. How old are your kids?
26.
Might be internship material right there. 5, not so much. You might find that the person you just sat across might be an ideal intern. So again, no matter where you are or what you're having a conversation, be willing to share that and put it out on your Facebook, put it out on your Instagram, put it out on your LinkedIn. You just never know. And say, please share. So thank you so much for your time today, and I'll grab you a business card before I go, but any other questions? If you want somebody to review your internship description before you publish it, shoot it over to me an email and say, hey, just look at this. Okay? Thanks, you guys. It was nice to see you all again.